Alright, so I haven't made a video in a very long time, and there is a reason why. Uh, it's because all my videos suck, and I don't have the effort, the energy to put in the effort. And you can see now, because of the pandemic, I look even more like shit. I haven't shaved in like a month. My hair is awful because I can't get it cut. This is just encouraging my slobby behavior. So I don't look very good, but we're gonna make a video because something has been bothering me. I've seen it a lot on Twitter. I've seen it on Facebook since my family is on Facebook, so I get to read their posts. And we're going to talk about it. And that thing that we're going to talk about is criminalizing in the era of coronavirus. And what I mean by criminalizing is increased police presence, fining people for violating social distancing or leaving their house or whatever like that. And that sort of thing. Fining people for infecting people with coronavirus. This is what I mean by criminalization. And I think a lot of people, when they're afraid, go towards these more police-friendly, authoritarian ideas, because that's really what draws people to authoritarianism, is the comfort that it provides. And the same thing for the police. I think for people that aren't affected by police brutality and police oppression on a daily basis, they don't see the police as a danger. They see the police as a comfort, as a, how would you put it, like a security, you know. It makes them feel more safe. And when everyone is really scared and really tense, people turn towards the police, they turn towards the law to protect them. And that's completely understandable. And I'm not trying to target people, the people that are afraid. That's not what I'm saying. I more want to kind of attack the attitude and sort of make people realize that it's perfectly normal to have these attitudes, but it's not healthy and it's not helpful. And in fact, criminalization could make things even worse. Even if you don't care about police brutality, which you should, even if you don't care about authoritarianism, which you should, even if you don't care about increased state, like militarism and stuff like that, which you should, it won't help stop the coronavirus. And I have some reasons why. If you haven't been paying attention to prisons in the United States, and my thing here is going to focus on the United States just because that's where I'm from, but this could easily apply to other countries. The news about prisons in the United States, like for example, Rikers in, I believe, New York. I'm stupid. I don't know where. I think it's New York. It's probably fucking Rikers. Everyone knows where Rikers is. And one of the most infamously awful fucking prisons in the world. They're having prisoners like dig mass graves, and this is real, by the way. You could look this up. This is a real thing that's happening. They're having them dig mass graves, not necessarily for citizens dying of coronavirus, but for prisoners dying of coronavirus, because they know that prisons are going to be this epicenter of the pandemic. You're going to have so many people, because there's no way you can social distance in a prison. And hold on, this does have something to do with this topic. Okay, so in prisons you cannot social distance. Medical care is shit. I don't know if you know that, but it is. And it's not the fault of the people giving the medical care in these prisons. It's the fault of the people that own these prisons. They don't give them enough staff. They don't give them enough supplies. They don't give them enough facilities that are up to date and things like this. And a lot of times, not always, the staff are people who are like the worst of the worst that won't get hired at like actual hospitals and stuff. So they'll go and get a job at a prison. Like there was this story not too long ago about a guy, I believe it was a man, who, there was this woman who was pregnant. She was an inmate, and she was pregnant, and she gave birth, and to sanitize her wounds, he used sugar, like table sugar, like cane sugar. So, medical care in prisons is not great. And I can tell you from personal experience, not me personal experience, but because I have family members who have been in prison, that it is not a safe place during a pandemic. It definitely would not be. I mean, like, for example, in California, I know, though I think this is pretty widespread across the United States, they don't even have cells, really. They put them, especially in, like, what they call low-security prisons, or inmates that aren't considered, high security or whatever. They put them in, like, basically gymnasiums with these bunk beds packed together like sardines. You literally have no space to yourself. There's no way you could social distance. There's no way. You can't. I mean, this is even when they have shortages of soap. I mean, you can't just go wash your hands whenever the fuck you want. Or you can't just, acquire gloves or masks. Those aren't free. You have to pay for those. And so you can't social distance in a prison. And in jails, it is pretty much the same thing. Now, social distancing is impossible. There basically is no isolation. Like, you are with people at all times. It's basically communal living. And you can't protect yourself from a pandemic in that kind of environment. So my point with bringing all this up, to bring it back to criminalization, there's some people who are calling for people who don't social distance, or people who don't, who purposely, or they assume purposely or negligently infect other people with coronavirus, that those people should be fined or even jailed, like, as a criminal offense. And that's a bad idea. Number one, a lot of you guys know, HIV is a thing in my family. I don't personally have it, but my parents do, and did. And that is a perfect example of how criminalization can make things worse. If you don't know, it is illegal for someone who has HIV to have sex with someone if that other person says they didn't know. Which sounds like a good thing in theory. Like, you're like, oh, okay, that, you're not spreading it, whatever. But the problem is when you introduce other factors, because it's never that simple. For example, a lot of people don't know that they have HIV. They may have an idea of it. Like, let's say, for example, I'm going to speak from my little realm. You're a sex worker. You're a prostitute, for lack of a better word. And you have a pretty good idea that you probably have HIV. But you don't know, because getting access to a test is so difficult. Getting access to care is difficult. I mean, you're never going to be undetectable, when you don't have access to healthcare like that. And so these are the types of people, the poorest people, the people who can't afford testing, people who can't afford to practice safe sex, people who can't afford to have a job that doesn't require them to have dangerous sex. Those would be the kind of people that are targeted by this criminalization. This is not like upper class, bougie white people that are fucking taking PrEP and all that shit. No. This is like basically an attack on poor people. Because for the vast majority of people in this world, they're not going to... Hold on. Sir, please don't bark. Please don't bark. I'm sorry. I'm sitting in my dog's barking chair. They have a chair that's just for them to bark at. For most people aren't the type of people to purposely infect people. Like, that's not the vast majority of cases. Oh my god, can you please focus? Please focus on me, please? Oh my god. Okay, ignore the focus. Just don't even look at my face. Okay. Back to this. This is a very unorganized video. I'm doing this off the cuff. There's no script. Courthouses. If you haven't seen pictures, especially in LA, where I live, LA County, courthouses are fucking nuts right now. Social distancing, who? They've never heard of them, because they have people lined up, like, down the street to go into courthouses to pay fines, like parking tickets and things. And, there is some fines you can pay by mail or online, I believe. I'm not too familiar with it because I don't pay tickets. Anyway, I'm gonna cut that out. Anyway, but the vast majority of people either do not have access to that kind of thing, they don't know how to do that kind of thing, or they just don't know it exists. And there's a lot of tickets where you cannot pay. You have to actually show up in court. And this is just a recipe for disaster. I mean, when it comes to spreading a virus, this is the perfect place to do it. It is a public place. You're stuck in, like, this little tiny thing. When you go inside of a courthouse, I don't know if this is true for everywhere in the world, but at least where I'm from, they pat you down, they put you through a metal detector, they go through your stuff, and then they go through everyone else's stuff. It's not like they're pausing to wash their hands and stuff like that. Like, yeah, they might be wearing gloves and a mask, but they're still spreading. Like, if one person has something, like, let's say one person has coronavirus and they sneeze on their bag or whatever, and then the cop goes and looks through it, and then goes to the next person's bag. They basically transported the virus. I mean, I'm not a scientist, but this, hypothetically, transported the virus onto another fucking bag, and now this other person has it. So a courthouse is like the worst possible place. I mean, even if you don't give a shit about the people going to the courthouse, which you should because they're just people, all of the people that work there are at risk. I mean, do you know how many, like, papers and files and things that they have to, like, touch? No. And a lot of these people, they're not, like, cops and stuff. They're just, like, clerks and, like, janitors and stuff. Like, that is not an essential service. Let me just say that right now. There are some things that do require, the court system. Like, for example, domestic violence cases or, divorce filings and stuff like that. But these types of things can be done remotely, at least some of them. And, if you limit it to those types of cases, essential cases, then you'd be fine. But parking tickets, fines for not social distancing, that's ridiculous. You shouldn't have these people going to courthouses. We don't need more laws for people to break, either because they're too poor, or because they didn't know, or because they didn't have a choice. I mean, and let me just talk about LA for a second, because that's all I know about, because I'm isolated. There's been rumors going around, and the LAPD has denied this, but it's the LAPD, so they fucking lie. But there has been rumors going around about cops stopping people using the excuse that they want to, where are you going? Are you social distancing? Are you quarantining yourself? Are you doing essential travel? When in reality, they're just trying to make money off of tickets. So if they pull you over, and let's say you have, like, the reason they pull you over is because of the coronavirus, but then they want to give you a ticket for, I don't fucking know, having shit hanging on your rearview mirror or whatever, like your reverse mirror. Like, that's an actual thing, by the way. That's illegal. Or I don't know, not wearing your seatbelt, or there's all types of things that they can give you a ticket for. And the thing is that cops rely on tickets. I don't know if people know this, but they rely on tickets. They have a quota that they have to fill that they're not filling because everybody's at home. It doesn't work. Even if you, look at the fact that it's not going to stop the spread. It's not going to do anything but spread it more when people are going to courthouses, people are going to jails, people are going to prisons. Not only that, but criminalization does not stop crime. And it never has. I think we only have to look at, like, the war on drugs, the war on sex work, which I don't think that's really a phrase, but fuck, I'm coining it, bitch. Or, like, when it comes to stupid shit like jaywalking, or I don't know, riding your bike on the wrong side of the road. Like, all this stuff never stops people from doing the thing they're doing. And do you really think it would stop people from, like, going out to party or going out to see their friends with coronavirus? Do you really think that's going to stop people? No. Criminalization doesn't work. And, I mean, I understand some people are looking towards places like China, which I actually think China is doing a good job on stopping the spread of the virus. I do have some hang-ups on their methods, but, I mean, it's working, I guess. And specifically, I want to talk about China and Vietnam, because American Johnson, non-compete, and Luna Oi, we're talking about that, and I want to include Vietnam in this. Even though they're two very different countries. China and Vietnam, for example, or, you know, even I think South Korea is also doing this, and a couple other places are sort of increasing police presence in order to keep people quarantined or socially isolated. And I don't think that's the reason that people are not getting sick. Because if you look at all these countries, there's one thing they have in common, and that's better healthcare than the United States and the UK. Like, if you look at all the countries that have, like, really shitty numbers, like Poland, Italy, United States, UK, their healthcare is fucked. Like, either they don't have universal healthcare, or their universal healthcare is shit, and doesn't work well, and it's overburdened and underfunded, and all that kind of stuff. And I think that's really the root of all this. It's not criminalization that's stopping this. And also, I think it has to do with education. You know, in Asia, they were on the ball when it came to telling people to stay home, to put on gloves, to, you know, sanitize, all that type of thing. They were on it immediately. And I know this because I follow a lot of, like, Asian news sources, you know, English Asian news, especially, like, in China and Vietnam. I don't know why, I just do. They were, like, on it immediately. And if you look at, like, for example, the United States, we did not do that shit. Our news and our government downplayed it so much. So if you want to attribute the lower numbers in, like, China and Vietnam and that kind of stuff to the criminalization, to the increased police presence, increased state presence, no. That's not the reason. That's not the reason at all. There's so many other factors that go into this. You can't just simply look at, like, one thing and say, ah, yes, that's the reason. That's not how it works. I mean... Okay. One more thing I want to talk about is it sets a precedent that is very dangerous. Increasing police presence and increasing criminalization sets a horrible precedent. Because let's say, when and if this is all over, it's still going on. You know, you still have people used to the idea of having police around all the time that can just stop you, or having the government be able to just lock you in your house for no, like, just whenever they want. Or I'm thinking about, like, California specifically. Because our governor, Gavin Newsom, I think that's how you say his name. I always forget his fucking name. The Gav. Even mentioned that martial law might be a thing. Which is... I don't know. Or I think it was Como. I don't remember his first name. It's like Anthony Como or James Como. I don't fucking know. I think I'm getting mixed up with, like, a singer or something. But anyway, he was another governor. They were having, like, the chief of police, like, head the effort to stop the pandemic. If I can find information about that, I'll put it in the description or in a comment, like a pinned comment. Or in California, they were having the National Guard come out and work, you know, with, like, homeless people and shit like that to deliver stuff, which sounds good at first glance. However, getting people used to the idea of having just military personnel and cops and all this kind of shit just around is a really terrible idea. And you just have to look at the history of the United States to see that. I mean, if you look at the increased, like, military presence when it comes to police, like, having military vehicles, military equipment, military, you know, riot gear and shit, just all the time. You'll just see them walking down the street. I mean, it's pretty regular. Like, for example, I don't know if this is true everywhere, but, like, big cities like LA, you'll just see cops wearing riot gear, just, like, out and about, like oot and a boot. And there's no riots, there's no anything going on. They're just walking around just in case. And people are just fine with it. I mean, or if I'm going to talk about somewhere that I've been outside of the United States, like for example, when I went to Paris, uh, there were cops fucking everywhere. And I mean, this was right during the Yellow Vest protest, but this is how I kind of want to connect it, is anytime there's any kind of anything going on, any type of anything that's going on that scares normies, normal people, the state will use that chance to increase police presence, increase militarization, and increase state power. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, if you look at, like, after not World War II, after 9/11, the same thing happened. You have the TSA, you have increased police presence, especially in places like New York. Anytime there's a school shooting, they want to put more cops in schools. This is the same thing with this pandemic, is they're trying to increase their power. And don't think that they're doing it because they want to protect you. That's not what they're doing. They're doing it because they know in the long run, this will give them more power. And I know that makes them sound like fucking supervillains, which, if the shoe fits. But no, you have to understand that the state is not an individual. It's not like Lex Luthor is running this shit. The state is an entity, it's not a person. And it will always look to have more power because that's what the state wants. That's how our system is set up, is, the more power that the state has, the more, ability it has to do things, which is kind of what it wants to do. It's kind of how we designed it, or at least how it's been designed over the years. And I know that got a little anarchisty, and I know not all my followers are anarchists, but I think we can all agree that, at least when it comes to places like the United States, we don't want that state to have power. Like, okay, maybe you have your favorite states that you like, but at least we can all agree that the United States should not have that power. The United Kingdom should not have that power. And I'm referencing the UK specifically because Boris Johnson has been absolute shit. I just wanted to talk about this because I think everyone's knee-jerk reaction is to look for someone to do something. Someone do something. Someone make a change. Why is this happening, But we don't think about the long term. We don't think about how this will affect people other than ourselves. Like, for example, I might be fine if there's increased police presence because I don't go outside and I'm white as white. And, but if I was like a young black man or a young black woman or a trans black person, I mean, this could be a death sentence. And I think that's something that a lot of white leftists are forgetting when they praise these types of authoritarian measures, is that maybe you'll be fine, but not everybody. How especially like black disabled people are going to be affected by this. Disabled people are already fucked with by the police. Like, let's just be serious here for a second, in case you don't know. And then you add in black, or if it's a black man that's disabled, or if it's a black trans person that's disabled, you have all these layers of some bad shit is going to go on. And these are things that I think a lot of people aren't thinking about, when they see the police and they go, oh, thank God, they're here to save us. No, they're not. You know what it kind of reminds me of? Like, just to be a little bit stupid for a second, 28 days later, when they go and they're looking for the military base, and they get there and then they realize, oh, they're not here to help us. Oh. Honestly, that whole movie is good if you want to talk about, like, militarization and toxic masculinity and stuff like that. It's a really good movie. But anyway, I've been watching a lot of, like, pandemic zombie movies and stuff, which is probably not the best thing to watch during the coronavirus. I don't have, like, any direction with this. I just wanted to say something because it's something very near and dear to my heart. I mean, y'all know I hate the police. And, it's scary for me, to think about. And it worries me to see people that I respect and that I know better praise criminalization, the increased police state, increased authoritarianism. Like, that's scary to see. And I'm not going to name names because There's no reason to, because it's not their fault. Let me just be clear on that. If you have encouraged this kind of stuff, it's not your fault that you did that, really. I don't think so, anyway. I think it's bad, but I don't think it's necessarily your fault. I think it is a product of fear and a product of how we've been conditioned by society to look towards authority figures, especially when it comes to the state and cops and the military and that sort of thing, as saviors and as protectors. We've been conditioned to believe that, when it's not true. And it's okay to, you know, want someone to do something. And I think that's one of the things that kind of, again, I don't want to talk about anarchism, but it's one of the things that pushed me towards anarchism, is because I realized that I can't rely on these people to protect me, and that their goal is not to protect me. I hope I didn't blabber too much. I'm a little bit absent-minded right now. I had to take some Klonopin because I'm currently rationing my venlafaxine, or Effexor is the brand name, and it causes really bad withdrawals, so I'm kind of a little bit out of it. I don't have anything else to say. God, I look so bad. I'm looking at myself in the monitor, and I look really bad. I keep looking at myself like, oh my god. Like, if I turn off... Hold on. Let me do this. Where's the fucking... I'm not wearing my glasses, so I have to squint. Hold on. Let me turn off saturation. Turn off brightness. Shut up, Bernie. Look at how fucking bad I look. I'm all, like, red. Sir! Please. Calm down. I'm all, like, red. I have dark circles. I'm sweaty. I look bad. That's why I do my videos in black and white. Okay, I'm gonna end this video. All right. Bye bye.